Hi and welcome to tutorial L, Lilting, Loveliness. We're pretty much finishing off parts of speech in this tutorial, revision of one or two other things, but also some poetry for a change. So let's get going. Welcome. The last of our parts of speech are interjections, words that perform no grammatical function in the sentence. They're merely expressions, usually of some emotion. Oh dear, drat, phew, shame, oh, ha. They can occur almost anywhere in a sentence, though they often appear alone. In conversation, they can express, I can hear you, or understand. Oh, really, go on. Our couple of poems we're looking at today, some Shakespearean sonnets. A really famous one, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance, or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Here Shakespeare saying to someone, his or her beauty is going to last longer than a summer's day. It's going to last forever, and death's never going to get him or her. How come? It's this poem. So long lives this. It's this sonnet, this 14-line poem that's going to keep that beauty alive forever. These different colors here show how a Shakespearean sonnet is made up of 3 quatrains, 3 sets of 4 lines each, and then a rhyming couplet at the end. These A, B, C, D, C, D, that's the rhyme scheme. Day rhymes with May, so we call them A. Temperate rhymes with date, we call it B. Shines, declines are C. Dimmed, untrimmed, D. E, F is fade, shade, owest, growest. And then C and D, the rhyming couplet at the end. And this word but here is a change in thought. All of this is about sometimes summer is not great, but she's going to keep her beauty forever. So that change of thought is called the Volta. So a Shakespearean sonnet made up of 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet at the end. Another famous one, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. And here Shakespeare makes fun of cheesy love poems that say how beautiful someone is, but sometimes they're too exaggerated and they don't seem sincere. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun, greyish brown. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I've seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. So he's not insulting her using words like reeks to say her breath doesn't smell like perfume, but he's just being honest and saying yet he's got as much love as anyone that she gave false comparisons to. Again, 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet at the end. Yet another Shakespearean sonnet. Let me not to the marriage of 2 minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with a remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, the star that guides every wandering ship, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Love is like a beacon that carries on forever, and if that's not true, I never wrote anything, and he was Shakespeare, so he wrote plenty. Something by someone else. John Donne writes specifically to death and says, I don't have to be scared of you. Also in his sonnet, Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow. And soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and soul's delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell. And poppy or charms can make us sleep as well and better than thy stroke. Why swellest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. We don't have to be scared of you because sleep gives us pleasure, so death will give us more. We're going to get to rest. You hang out with fate, chance, kings, and desperate men. You live with poison, war, and sickness. So why must we be scared of you? We're going to have one little sleep. We're going to wake to eternal life in heaven. So you are going to die. This paradox at the end. Death, thou shalt die. Another really famous one, and then that'll be enough of the poetry for today. The Daffodils by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. The thousand saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, the flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Hope you enjoyed this quick little journey into some classic poems, but now to matters more mundane. Prefixes and suffixes. A prefix is a group of words with a definite meaning that's placed in front of a root word. Anti, as in antiseptic. Bio, as in biology. Pre, as in prefix, prerequisite. A suffix comes after the word, the age in coverage, the T in royalty, the I's in serialized. That tells us it's a noun. That's a noun. The I-Z-E or I-S-E, if you're British, tells us it's a verb. So here's some common prefixes. Antenatal classes are before the birth. So ante means before. Anti meaning against, as in antiseptic. Demo of the people, as in democracy. Mis, as in wrong, as in the word misunderstand. Multi meaning many, as in multifaceted. Post meaning after, unlike pre meaning before, meaning postscript, a PS after a letter. Semi meaning half, as in semicircle. Some more common prefixes. Aero, as in aeroplane, meaning air. For, as in before, as in forefather. Mis, as in wrong, as in misbehave. Aqua, water, as in aquaplane or aquarium. Un meaning not, as in unchain. Bene, good, meaning as in benefactor, beneficiary. I got benefactor twice. Mal, meaning bad, as in malpractice. Circum, around, as in circumference. Sub, meaning under, as in submarine, meaning underwater, or subterranean, underground. Mono, meaning one, as in monotone, monotonous. Amphi, on both sides, amphibious. Amphibious creatures like the frog live on water and in land. Sub, we've already done sub, under means submarine. Ultra, extreme, as in ultra orthodox. And then I think we have some more prefixes. Tele, as in telephone, a voice across a distance. Subterranean, sub-under, terranean, underground. Bipolar, meaning having two moods. Bicycle, two wheels. Bigamy, two wives. Biped, walking on two legs. Autograph, graph meaning writing. Auto, done by the writer himself. Autobiography, piece of writing about someone's life written by the same person, written by the person whose life it is. Polygon, poly meaning many. Polygon has many sides. Someone who's guilty of polygamy has 3 or more wives or husbands. Bigamy for 2, polygamy for 3 or more. Misogynist, misanthrope. Misogynist, someone who doesn't like women. A misanthrope, someone who doesn't like humanity. Theo, meaning religion. So theology, the study of religion. Theocracy, government by the church. Anthropology, the study of humanity. Anthropos is man. Add prefixes to create antonyms. So add able. So it's unable, unattractive, unfit, unhappy, unhealthy, unprofessional, unsociable. Inaccurate, inconsiderate, indefinite, insane. Add on IL, so there's going to be a double L. Illegal, illiterate, illegible, illogical. Add on IM and keep this word so you'll have a double M. Immature, immodest, impersonal, improper. Add on IR, giving you a double R. Irrational, irresistible, irrelevant. Add dishonest, disloyal, dissimilar. Add non-alcoholic, non-smoking, non-standard, non-stop. To change the subject, we did these earlier. I remember we spoke of the poor dog was put to sleep. That's a euphemism. I don't think we did this one. He underwent a cartridge operation. Cartridge instead of cartilage. It's a word that sounds similar, but it's the wrong word, so it's malapropism. They went to the party just for kicks, that's slang. The police will leave no stone unturned, that's a cliche. It was raining cats and dogs, cliche. But this one, saying perspective instead of perceptive, is once again a word that sounds like the word you want, but it's the wrong word, so it's malapropism. Words starting with L. The vocabulary of a person, language, or branch of knowledge. The lexicon. To publicly criticize someone or something by using ridicule, irony, or sarcasm to make fun of. Lampoon. more merciful or tolerant than expected, lenient. They were treated with leniency. Express passionate grief about, lament. He lamented his wife's death. And then this one, unpleasantly bright in color, especially so as to create a harsh or unnatural effect, or presented in vividly shocking or sensational terms, lurid. So you can speak of lurid colors of a building, or he wrote in lurid terms. He presented his description in shocking and sensational terms. His description was lurid. And that brings us to our writing. Once you finish the rough draft, you might start going through and looking for strong verbs. Verbs that are stronger than walked and looked. Verbs like sprint, fume, grasp, leap, shove, punch, contemplate, deduce, muse or ponder or analyze, to think in a certain way, seethe, relish, to enjoy, especially someone's unpleasant experiences, despair, grieve, exult, exclaim, murmur, scream, whisper, declare, stroll, dart, glide, plod, hurtle, to plod along. For this week I'm suggesting maybe try and write some poetry. Some topics: the beauty and or mystery of nature, childhood memories, love, overcoming adversity, emotions, an imaginary conversation, an everyday object, or this picture. Once again, beauty and or mystery of nature, childhood memories, love, getting over adversity, emotions, an imaginary conversation, an everyday object, or that picture. I hope you're going to create some lovely poetry. Quick vocabulary quiz. To use words that begin with the same sound. Could be assonance, could be alliteration. I'm just going to say alliteration because it's more common. Alliteration. The teaching point of a story, as in Aesop's fables. At the end I give this moral. The moral is the teaching point of a story. Don't get mixed up with morale, which is your spirit, that has an E on the end. A judge of literary or artistic works. A critic. To make someone a prisoner, it's a fancy word for arrest. It came up in our malapropisms. To apprehend. To make out the meaning of some strange writing, something on an ancient piece of stone, to work out what does it mean, to decipher it. Decipher. Oh. Decipher. Not cooperating with me today. DEC. That's it. A display of temper starting with a TA. You don't want your child to throw a temper tantrum. A terrible disaster or misfortune starting with cat. A catastrophe. Catastrophe. Active dislike or hatred. Any something. Anyone know? Animosity. So that's our vocabulary quiz. That's our tutorial, Lilting Loveliness. Hope you'll come back and join me next time for tutorial M, Magnificent Masterpieces. Until then, I wish you all luck and love and a good time until I see you again the next time. Bye-bye.